What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and today I am reviewing the latest offering from Panopticon, Laurentian Blue. I believe that's how you say that word, but whatever. Anyways, this also came out on August 15th, this time on Bindrune Recordings. This is the 11th studio full-length from this project, which is essentially a one-man band by Austin Lunn. And I went over the last album, The Rune of Memory, or The Rime of Memory, I believe. That was back in, tail end 2023, and I thought that was a fantastic album. Of course, atmospheric black metal, black and death metal, American folk and bluegrass kind of all merged together into this project. So I was going into this thinking I'm going to be in for something quite dark and morose and vicious. Well, it's dark and morose, but it's not vicious per se. This is a very different album for Panopticon. The metal elements are pretty much gone on this album, and well, the way to describe this album, it's like a hybrid of folk music, Americana music, country music, and dare I say the acoustic parts and progressive rock kind of all mashed together for the most part, which, this kind of stuff, country music, I've never really been a fan of country music. I mean, apparently I was when I was a little kid. I don't know what I was thinking when I was growing up. Apparently I was a big Faith Hill fan. Well, thank God I got better taste in music the older I got. But when it comes to country music, the main thing I would listen to if it's on is Johnny Cash, because he was the world's greatest storyteller and was a badass, still remains a badass even after he passed. So yeah, that's about the only country I'll really listen to. Other than that, I am not a country music fan, because all it's become now, and I agree with the analogies that I've heard from others, it's hillbilly pop is what it is now. There's no real country music anymore. It's hillbilly pop, where they just go, well, I gotta get in my pickup truck and drink me some Budweisers while I complain about my wife and my dog. That's just more or less that's just all I get in my head when I hear country music anymore. But regardless of how I feel about country music not being for me, I have to admit, this album is beautiful. It is beautiful in what Austin's going for, which is those softer moments with so much acoustic and violin play, lots of banjo, which I can appreciate banjo in metal, especially when used for a moment. Mastodon on Divinations off Crack the Sky starts off with a banjo. But as far as the songs themselves, I will admit, this is going to be fairly a short review, because I will say a good chunk of this album mostly kind of goes for the same tone when it comes to the acoustics and the violin, but I will say the songs are done very well. The opening track, a Liberation song, it starts off by cracking open a beer and jamming on the acoustic guitar around a campfire. A lot of this can be campfire songs, which can be very soothing and relaxing. And then the poetry and Roadkill is really where you start getting more of the violin. The strings really accent the feeling on this album. A good chunk of this is just morose and sad and somber and sorrowful. Especially I would say in the cover song from Jackson Carey Frank, who I've never heard of, the song Dialogue, I Want to Be Alone. I about got misty-eyed a little bit listening to that song. And then probably the two long tracks, An Argument with God and Broken Bars. An Argument with God is for the most part feels like a Western song, a standoff between an individual and his concoction in his head of what he thinks God is. And it's both sides are presenting arguments that have reasonable points, why do we have to suffer? And then God's well, why do you have to take nature and make it all about making a profit? It's there's both sides have reasonable points, which I'm not going to get into a whole religious argument, because that's not needed here. But Broken Bars in particular, like that one really goes for the morose out of the two. Like, accordion comes in, of course, beautiful acoustic play, some female vocals. The acoustic play kind of remind me of like the moments where King Crimson and Genesis get at their softest back in their prog rock eras back in the early 70s. But then you get other tracks like Irony and Actuality. That one just feels like a straight up hoedown, like fiddles and banjos and acoustic play. It's all feels like we should be doing like a ring around the rosy around the campfire, essentially. And then you get to the real somber tracks like Ever North, the title track, Flowers in the Ditch, Down Along the Border, and This Mortal Coil is Rusted. Those songs go for so many dynamics. Like Flowers in the Ditch, honestly, I get vibes of like the acoustic parts in Opeth quite a bit. Like, particularly, I would say like Pale Communion, Sorceress, like that time frame of Opeth. I get those vibes. Plus, it's slower. And then Down Along the Border, just beautiful vocal harmonies. This Mortal Coil is Rusted. It almost feels like a combination of country and acoustic prog rock. And then the last track, Ellie in the Dark, gets a little bit colder. Like, it definitely has that, like, yeah, I agree, that Minnesota feel, whereas there's still a good chunk of, like, that Kentucky influence on a lot of this album. So, vocally, Austin's going for a really cool approach, kind of like a hybrid of Mark Knopfler and Johnny Cash, and it works. He's actually got a really cool melodic vocal on a lot of this. Now, I will say this isn't what I was expecting. I was expecting to hear something similar to the last album, where it's atmospheric black death metal, all with that folky approach. Perhaps this was just a one-off experiment for Austin to kind of let out some feelings, because apparently he went through like family members going away and dying and such, and of course the pandemic, and amongst other things, kind of led him to just coming out with these songs. While this is not necessarily my bag in terms of music, it is beautiful. So for that, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. For what it's going for, this album is pretty, but it's pretty damn sad for the most part. So yeah, proceed with caution when listening to this album. So I would say to compare it to, if you're a fan of Johnny Cash, Mark Knopfler, I would say even like the soft acoustic parts in bands like Genesis, King Crimson, Opeth, and Agalloch, check this out. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But until next time, thank you for watching, keep your horns high, and your dreams wet.